Hey guys, this is Johnny.
And this is Brent.
And we got some killer big news to share with you.
That's right. The big news is that now the C.L.I.M.B Show Music Business Podcast is part of the American Songwriter Podcast Network.
Yeah, man, we're super excited to be a part of this network along with some other amazing podcasts.
Make sure to check out americansongwriter.com/podcast or click on the link in the episode notes to listen to some of the best shows in music. All right, Johnny, do your thing.
Welcome to the C.L.I.M B! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. Leverage is what you're going to need to get ahead. It's what you're going to need to take the next step. You have to prove to the people that are going to pull you up that you've got some success behind you, that you've got some railroad track laid down, that you're serious about this. They're not going to take you from a diamond in the rough to a big, huge star. You're going to have to do some of that work in the beginning. It's better for you. The art's going to be better. It's going to be better for everybody, believe me. That's why we called it the C.L.I.M B. C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's a Baxtronym, and it's from my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter. Brent's also an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and more. And he helps songwriters like you turn pro by revealing how you can write like a pro, do business like a pro, and on a regular, he's going to connect you with the pros, give you a shot to get face-to-face, virtually make some relationships, and start to plant some seeds and grow some corn. You can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists such as Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there's no S because there is no other Johnny D. Yellow.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing all right. Still excited about our big news that we just said at the beginning of the podcast about the C.L.I.M B being part of the American Songwriters Podcast.
Yeah,
Network.
guys, this is a great institution, a great brand. It's been around since the early 80s, and it's been revamped now. It got even better. One of the things they added was a podcast network, and we were thrilled to be asked to join. And this is the podcast network's on 3 verticals. So it's songwriting, it's music business, and anything related to production and engineering. So you're going to want to you want to go check out the podcast that they have on there right now at americansongwriter.com/podcast. But also keep an eye out because they're going to be systematically adding more and more podcasts to the network. This is going to be like your go-to resource for whatever information you need to know, from marketing to music business to songwriting to making better demos and stuff like that. So I'm stoked about it. Yeah.
That's right. And I think to get kind of meta on it, there's a lesson for you as a songwriter or you as an artist in some of the success here. I'm, getting approached by American songwriters, kind of like you getting approached by a publisher or being approached by a label or something, going, hey, we've noticed the work you've done.
Yeah.
How about we work together and everybody wins? Because we're 220 something. This is episode 228. 228 episodes of the regular Tuesday episodes, and then we're well over 300 with the mini-sodes and that kind of stuff. So we've been doing this for a minute, consistently putting out work, making it discoverable, doing our best work, and then just trying to serve climbers, trying to serve y'all. And you do that long enough, you do that well enough, and then people kind of start going, hey, look what's happening over there with the C.L.I.M B. Same kind of thing, just a different venue, You
guys are serious about this. Yeah.
Yeah, they're serious about this, and we get a chance to check out their work, and it's, serving our audience. Why don't we partner together, and everybody wins?
That's right. And so, when part of this network adds a lot of value. All the podcasts are adding value to each other in a number of different ways, not the least of which is that our combined activity, our combined downloads are super exciting and super sexy to advertisers than any one single podcast. So, here's a great story of a community of people coming together, being led by the great brand, the people over at American Songwriter magazine, and taking this up to another level. So this is going to be exciting to see how this turns out.
That's right.
So that said, what we're going to learn today, speaking of digital and stuff, I actually had an email for the Pick Johnny's Brain questions when I regularly send those out, to usually do these in like a mini-so, but this one I thought going to be, I can't pack this into 15 minutes, so I thought we'd talk about this a little bit more. And also the email made me think about a couple things differently that I wanted to share with you guys and just sort of reframe some mindsets out there. So this is from Alex Rhodes, and Alex has done a consultation with me as well. By the way, if you'd like to do one, just hit me up at info@daredevilproduction.com, put consultation in the subject line, and don't forget to download the free informational PDF, 21 Biggest Reasons You Don't Have More Fans and How to Fix That. It's at giftfromjohnny.com, JOHNNY, and just tell us where to send it. It's free just for playing our home game. So Alex says, hey, what about online gig setup? He says, a lot of us are playing online shows right now. It'd be great to discuss how to set them up technically, aesthetically, and the best ways to promote. Thanks, Alex. So that's what we're going to be digging into today. Before we do that, let's take care of a little business here. Hey, we still got nothing but love, a lot of love for our friends at Disc Makers. It's a digital world. Physical media is going to play an important role for the independent musician. It's what's going to add those extra ducats to get you from one lily pad to the next out there, hipsters. And digital royalty payments are so small that selling products like CDs and vinyl and T-shirts has become important, seems like an understated word, like a mission-critical income generator.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Math. Math says that for every CD you sell at a live show, when we start having those again, that you need about 3,000 streams to equal the same amount of revenue. 3,000 streams in one hand, one CD in the other. Okay, get all the streams you can, but that's a lot of streams. Go sell some merch. We feel like you're leaving money on the table when you don't have merch on the table. So thankfully, our friends at Disc Makers are the place to go for your disc and other physical media, including vinyl, USB drives, and even T-shirts. And you can find them online at discmakers.com, discmakers.com, or give them a call at 800-468-9353. That's 800-468-9353.
That's right. Join the C.L.I.M.B community if you haven't done so. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you like to listen to and consume podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating review or leave a 1-star. It's up to you. We prefer 5-star, but be honest. And finally, tell a friend about it. That's the best thing you can do to get us out there. If it's helping you, it's going to help somebody else. So help us help them, right?
That's right. You'll look cool if you do. All right,
let's get into this here.
Setting up, optimizing your online gig.
So first of all, let's just go up to 30,000 feet for a second, because a lot of things have changed in the last few months. And let's reevaluate. Artists are a lot of times perfectionists, or at least they're seeking perfection, right? They're trying to get better. They want to be as good as they can get. And if you haven't noticed yet with this whole COVID thing here, that all of a sudden the talking heads on TV, the American Idol judges, like they're running that show. Everybody's doing remote stuff. They're at home. They're not in the studios with the big lights and the $100,000 cameras on them. They're doing it from an iPhone or from some much, much lower grade kind of a thing. What else has popped up in the last couple months? Zoom has been skyrocketing, right? Because we're all Zooming with one another. And Zoom, the quality of the video and the audio is gritty at best, right? So there's more grit out there. And I just feel like overall the bar for the quality of broadcasting as far as aesthetics, right? As far as how you look, the lighting, all that kind of stuff has gone way, way down, right? This is your time. This is your time to come in. If you've been sort of walking around the pool, waiting to see if you're going to stick your big toe in the water and think about digital, this is your time to get in, because you're going to look the same as Jennifer Lopez, man. You know, like
I'll be honest, I'm never going to look the same as Jennifer Lopez, but
you are never going to be as pretty as she is. That's right. So I thought that Alex's email was poignant, and we kind of start up here with just talking about the idea of live video, because it was a big deal when it first came out. Like, you know, it's been in the mass I think, the mass awareness now, the popular lexicon for probably 5 or 6 years. And the last year or so, believe it or not, it's been waning a little bit. It's kind of been falling off. And of course, COVID brings it right back up. So it's super, super popular again. And what are some ways that you can take advantage of this? So I think Facebook Live or Instagram Live are good ideas. This is where you want to go, and you're going to get some attention when you go there. So I want to talk about, number one, you got to do this. This is the way to do this. Right now it may feel like a gig online or any kind of performance online is what you have to do to survive. But I want to reframe that and say that this is what you're going to do to thrive, because moving forward, when COVID is like so far in the rearview mirror, we don't even remember it. Okay. And hopefully that comes sooner than later. You're going to need to know about this stuff. We've been touching on this now for a while, the last year, like, hey, knock, knock, knock. This is digital. You have to get on board and start to become a student of this game. And so here's your opportunity, and you don't have to be perfect to make it happen. You don't have to have all the right lights and the perfect cameras and the whole team, and you don't have to be all dialed in. It just focus more on the authenticity, look for connection, not for perfection, right?
Ooh, I like that. Connection, not perfection. That's tweetable right there.
Yeah, no, I felt like that would be something that you would say. I thought you'd be proud of me for that. But again, since the visual bar has been lowered on TV, your broadcast isn't going to look much different than American Idols or some of these, talking news heads that are all doing stuff, or the big interviews that you see, or even the presidential candidates. I mean, Joe Biden spent months in his basement doing stuff from his basement. Right. The audio was terrible. So if the presidential candidates got the same kind of quality problems that you have, the playing field is even right now, you see? So this is where you kind of want to jump in and take advantage of this.
Stop Biden your time and get out there. Thank you. That's a dad joke right there. Here we go. I'm just going to take another sip of coffee.
Couple things, Brent. You said you got a light, right? What kind of light did you get? The ring light. Let's talk about lighting.
I got a ring light. I am not sure what the brand is, but yeah, just a simple ring light off of Amazon. It's got two little, there's a ring light on one adjustable stand, and then a thing to hold my iPhone, a little clip to hold that in the other one, so I can kind of position, if I'm doing iPhone stuff. But yeah, just a ring light, simple. It's like, I don't know, $30 or something on Amazon. Not the
there you go.
Not the highest quality, I'm sure, that you can get on there. But yeah, something to get me going.
But we're just talking about getting you going. Yeah, there's another company called Neewer, Neewer. So N is in November, double E, W-E-R. They've got one too. It's like $50 to $70, something like that. It's just something to get you a little bit better lit if your lighting is too dark in the house, or if you don't have natural light. I want you to just think about lighting a little bit. This has been on my mind lately because I bought all this video gear and stuff that we have for different content that we're going to be creating, and along with it, I found a couple deals. Why did I find it? Because I was looking for them, but I found a couple deals on like amazing content for more professional lighting and cinematography and stuff that I don't know anything about. Yeah. And I'm probably 25 hours down in this rabbit hole and learning a bunch of different stuff. And so I'm going to bring some of the really, really sort of inexpensive things you can do to make that happen as well. Sometimes if you've got some good light coming in from the window, from the side, a simple piece of poster board or something like thicker white foam board that you can get for a couple bucks from Home Depot can be, let's call it, strategically placed out of the shot. That'll reflect some light back on the other side of your face, kind of a thing, and fill it out a little bit. Those are some good tricks.
Balance, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, that's part of what I use the ring light for, is that I have this track light above me in my office, and so then I also have like a stand-up, lamp in the corner. I have big windows, but at night when I'm doing stuff, I got the track light and the lamp. But that's all above my head, as I'm sitting at my desk and recording.
Right.
And so it's all kind of aiming down. And so I just put the ring light further down towards kind of shooting up at my face a little bit, just so my face lights up. I'm not in shadow if I have a hat on or something like that, just to try and balance it out.
There you go. And just a little bit of thought. I mean, you're no cinematographer, neither am I, right? Like putting just a little bit of thought into where the light is coming from and stuff like that can make a big difference about how you look. And you can make, with stuff around the house, kind of even it out and make sure that you've got what you need to be going on. And you can also do stuff with controlling the light better. I think of, you know who I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of Wilkes and the videos that he made where he was actually in a really dark, it looked like that studio might be in his basement or something, but he's in a very dark room and there's like one lamp that just kind of cuts through the darkness and cuts through half of his face. And you can tell that he's playing a guitar, sitting down, leaning into a microphone and singing. And it's super dramatic, but what he did was just control the light.
Right.
So that's interesting sometimes if you want a more dramatic effect. There's a vampire movie, I can't remember what it was, but during the day, they would all go hide in a house, and they had tinfoil on the windows.
Yeah.
Because if the light came through, they'd catch on fire. You know?
Yeah.
So I have, like, right now, if you guys haven't seen it yet, the first video I shot with my stuff was with Allura, and that video just debuted yesterday on Brave Words. It premiered yesterday on Brave Words. And I put it up in the C.L.I.M.B community so you guys can take a look at it. But it's that was shot in my spare bedroom. Mm-hmm. But I completely darkened it out so that I could control the light a little bit better. It's not that difficult to control light if you put about 5 minutes of thought into it and look at different things and just think about it a little bit. And then you can really do something wonderful on the camera that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
One more final thing about lighting. Again, if you're spending 5 minutes to think about it and you're just really, really looking at it, they're just moving around to different rooms can make a big difference. If you remember, we talked a little bit about Aaron Jackson and how I worked with him, helping him develop a really killer mashup that he did. Mm-hmm. And there was a creative process musically in the mashup, but also he shot it 3 different times because the first time the light was terrible and harsh, and the second time the lighting was terrible and harsh. And then he just found, I think, a friend's living room that just kind of had the right light. It was a little softer. And it just worked better. And so if you just really think about it, like how does the light look? And then you start to see, oh, and it just worked better, it fit the song better, you know? So this wasn't any expensive kind of investment that he had to make, but he just invested awareness in it, let's say, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing I'm blessed is that my office here has a lot of light. I have like 2 walls are windows, basically. I'm on the 2nd floor here, and basically 2 walls of my office are like all window, which can be a good thing. And sometimes, you know, you can make a difference if I was trying to do something at night versus daytime and try to make it look seamless. But I don't really do that, so I feel happy.
There you go. So I think that, you know, just approach it with intention, it's going to work. Now, let's talk about this online gig setup and what's in the background. I think you want to try, I believe, as hard as you can to just put something together in the background so it doesn't look like you're in the middle of somebody's dirty living room.
Right.
And I see that a lot. So here's, again, where you can put together a little effort and just, you're going to separate yourself from most of everybody else. And what can you put in the background? Let's start with, how about a logo? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like if you got a logo that you hang up behind the drum riser at your shows, then by all means, put that logo up behind your shot when you do your online gig. Mm-hmm. That makes all the sense in the world. If you don't have a logo like that, you know, for less than $200, you can get one at, you know, Vistaprint. They'll just send it to you. They'll, you know, make something that you can use live moving forward. You need it anyway. You should have that logo, and this will help, but get it. If you don't have it right now, what are some things that speak to your personality as an artist? And you can put those kinds of things in the background. And you want to make sure that whatever background stuff you put in there, that it's framing you and you're not blocking it. Yeah. Right? Like with the shot. Because otherwise you won't know.
So you talk about things that speak to you as an artist. Like I think about like the Lonely Highway guys. They probably have a banner. But some for them would be like, you could have a Jack Daniels poster or logo like over your shoulder. And as people are scrolling through, they're going to recognize that logo. And that fits their brand and what they do, and they may already start getting a sense of, oh, I may like this.
Yeah.
Right? Is it that kind of stuff? It's almost like a little bit of branding, kind of like, oh, I see the JD logo. Oh, number 9. Hold on. What's
Exactly. And for them to have like a bookshelf of like empty Jack bottles, like would be even more in line with their brand. But you're on the right track. That's exactly it. In terms of what we're talking about now is just a little bit of visual artistic composition. And you can think of this like you think of producing a record. You know how sometimes the guitar can step on the vocal. If the guitar player's like doing guitar leads over the lead vocal,
you play in the spaces.
Yeah. You got 2 important things going on at the same time. It doesn't matter. So you don't want your body blocking something that could be branding you from behind. So move it to the side and kind of create that vibe.
Does your ceiling fan behind you look like you have a propeller hat on?
Yeah. Is it clean? Is it one of those ceiling fans that's got like dust bunnies hanging from it?
Swinging from it like Tarzan from a vine? Yeah.
Yeah. So practice a little composition. And another little trick, by the way, if you have pictures that are going to be in the shot behind you of any kind, remove the glass from the pictures so it doesn't create any kind of glare that can be distracting. It looks a little bit more pro. So next, let's talk about...
Well, actually, real quick, I tell you what I do is in my office here, and I'm sure you guys have seen it on social media or whatever, it's like I have it kind of built, or not built, I didn't build this office, but when I set it up with an eye to, I do a lot of video. I call it my power wall or my a-hole wall, depending on, the context. And so, I put up the golds and platinums and the stuff I'm blessed to have on the wall behind me. And, it's kind of authority building because I do a lot of coaching. It makes everything I say sound better, right? Sound like I know what I'm talking about. So that's part of that marketing because when you scroll through the video, you notice like gold records or whatever. But I've noticed also that it gives a consistent look to a lot of what I do because a lot of what I do is I'm sitting at my desk. And so there's that kind of visual branding. If you're scrolling through, you
it's a
notice
hook.
That background.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, yeah, he's in the same spot.
It's familiar.
The whole thing's the same. My shirt, my hat may change, but you got that wall behind me. And so I just set up where I don't have to do much. Like I got my ring light on my desk. I plug it in. I got my mic, boom, set up, go. And make it easy for me to do this stuff too.
That's perfect. There's a kid down in South America. I can't remember which country. He's a guitar shredder. And he's a huge, huge YouTube influencer. He's got a massive audience. And I don't know if this is his house or if he's just really clever and goes to this one place. But literally, there's like a bunch of fabric, all different kinds of fabric. It looks like laundry. You know how some in really poor countries, like the East Wall is laundry? You know what I mean? Hanging on a rope. Like it's obviously a really, really like squalor kind of a thing, but it's all this different fabric and stuff, and you just recognize, and he's up there shredding and jamming, but because that background was always the same, it helped him with the visual hook, right?
So almost like you could see the background, not even have him in it, and you're like, oh, it's that dude.
Yeah, you know which guy's going to come into the picture.
Like he's about to step on frame.
Yeah. So that whole consistency thing is really good, and it makes sense because you're right, Brent. It provides this sort of visual familiarity, this visual hook that's like, oh, I know this, I like this, and it triggers something in your brain to stop the thumb, and you're going to have a listen, right? Now, let's talk about some etiquette here. Imagine this, man. Imagine that you made a meeting with somebody to come over to your office, and you're going to meet face-to-face. You're going to say that meeting's going to be at 3 p.m. on Monday. They show up at 3 p.m. on Monday. They're there. You're there. They're in the office sitting, and you just continue working, taking phone calls, having conversations with people that walk into your office that work for you, and you're just completely like ghosting them. And they're right there. Imagine how it just sounds ridiculous if you're face-to-face, right? It's creepy.
Yeah.
Yet this is probably the biggest cardinal sin of anybody doing online gigs is they start the camera and then they're setting up. You watch them setting up equipment. The band guys are talking to one another. They haven't acknowledged your presence at all. Imagine going to a restaurant. And I mean, one of the keys of the restaurant industry is as soon as somebody sits down, within like a minute, somebody needs to go over there, acknowledge that they're aware that they're there. And even if they're not the server, say, hey, somebody can be with you in 2 minutes, And then then you know like you're not being ignored, and because you quickly move from what's going on to just being pissed off.
Yeah.
It's almost like a regular thing where people get on and then they're just talking with each other. They don't say anything. And, 10 minutes later, they start up on the first song. Mm-hmm. To nobody, of course, because everybody's all like, what the hell? Even if the conversation is interesting, I can't hear it because you're on the other side of the room and there's no lavalier mics on,
Yeah.
You were going to say something?
It's kind of self-indulgent. Like, okay, I'm doing this. This is my show. This is my thing I'm doing, but I'm not really caring who's watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's self-centered, even though you may not be feeling that way and mean it to be that way, just because you're not about others.
Yeah, and because they're not there in the room with you, you don't feel that sort of awkward pressure, but they do. Because they are in the room with you.
It's like dead air on radio. I mean, it might be a second for you while you're composing your thought if you're the DJ, but for the listeners, like, what is going on? It's a totally different relationship to time. When you're sitting there waiting for something
lifetime.
It's a lifetime.
Yeah. So here's the rule. Like, get your crap together at least a half an hour before you drop that live gig, right before you start that feed, so that if you've got a bad cable, if your microphone isn't working, if you've got tech issues, you all that's fixed, so that literally when you press play and you go to the live thing, you hit it and you go. Mm-hmm. There's a difference here between if you're doing a live webinar and you have all this information that people registered to go and see. I will sometimes be like, hey, everybody, we're right there on the mic as soon as it opens up. We're going to give everybody a couple minutes just to get a couple more people on here before we get started. And then I'm talking and just kind of trying to entertain them. That's different because they registered to be there and they want to be there because there's information that they have. This is just this entertainment from somebody maybe they don't know or that they do know, and they're not going to tolerate waiting around. So when you press play on that live gig, you got to be like, hey, we're the Tubes, and thank you for being here, guys. We're excited to get this going. We're going to play a number of different things, whatever. You want to take requests, whatever. State all that in there, and then you go. Like, you are within 1 minute's time, within 30 seconds' time, you are playing, and you begin the show. That's how you have to make that happen. On Broadway, they don't tolerate that. Like, you're going at the time that you're supposed to be going, and your shift lasts 4 hours, and you play straight through 4 hours. There's no breaks. Mm-hmm. There's no breaks in between. It's like 1-4 thing. Do not leave the stage unless you're standing on a bar singing. Or somebody is singing. Like, it has to keep going. Why? Because they can go on Broadway wherever they want to go. There's no cover charge. Mm-hmm. So they can bounce out of that floor and go to the second floor or bounce to another bar
or
go see another band.
They may pop their head in and realize nothing's going on. The band's on a break, so they just go, let's go on down to second fiddle.
Exactly right. You have to treat this with reverence. Like, make this like one of the 10 commandments of live gig setup, right? Mm-hmm. Like, get going immediately. Everybody's got to be tuned and in their positions if it's a whole band thing or if it's a multi-person thing, and you've got to be hitting the gas like within 30 seconds of going live, okay? On that note, have your set structured out and do not waste time in between songs. Mm-hmm. Right? The whole, what do you want to play? I don't know. Wait, what Bob called? Oh my God, dude, did I tell you a joke about it? And then all of a sudden you start talking amongst yourself as if you're at band practice, and once again, we're being ignored, and it's really, really awkward from the consumer position. So what you want to do is you say whatever words you want to say in between the songs. If there's something to set it up, make it quick, short and sweet, and get to the song. And also, in between songs, shout out some of the people that hopped on and that are listening to you. Mm-hmm. Hey, Mike, thanks for coming, guys. And you start shouting those out, and that makes people feel good. You're acknowledging that they're there. So the flow of the show is just as important as how quickly you get started. If you're waiting too long in between songs, they're going to drop out, and you're going to lose your audience, Man,
and that's true of live and in person as well. That makes me think about back when I didn't have 5 kids, and I'd go out to a bunch of showcases and stuff. And so you'd see at these artist showcases.
Yeah.
And this is like, we're hoping labels show up, and maybe some labels will show up. Like, this is, we're going to do a 8-song set, kind of thing, 30 minutes or whatever, and that's it. So you're thinking all killer, no filler. It's amazing how much filler there was on those. Where people just kind of going in and like, oh, let's tune a little more. Let's have, like song and then stop and then like, hey, here's, I just want to thank y'all for coming out and supporting my dream, and let him haw a little bit, not really sure what to say. And all right, next song is, and I was like, oh my gosh, like you didn't realize the energy that it's not a show, it's a showcase, right?
Yeah.
And then my buddy Thomas Martinez, who's over in Oklahoma, he's working with the Major Bob guys, and he was like a touring professional. They had the bus. They'd been playing like Oklahoma and Texas and all that stuff. It came out first song, and it was just bam! It was a show.
Yeah.
It was just a show, and it was awesome. It was just like, here's just a bite-sized Thomas Martinez show versus somebody with hired guns, and it's a showcase, and one song doesn't flow into the next song, and there's dead space, and start, stop. He was just like, go. And, he's at like third song in. He's like, hey, thanks y'all for coming out tonight. Somebody scream, and I was like, oh, that's what these are supposed to be like.
Dude, exactly. Like, okay, so we've had this conversation on multiple times over the years with artists where they get the opportunity to do this showcase, and there's going to be some industry people there. And literally, when they're not pro, we have to sit down and say, look, here's the deal. This is a show. This is not the Grammys, right? After every song, you don't, thank the world and your grandmother. And
you ain't won nothing yet.
Yeah, that's right. These people are coming by after work.
You see Denzel stop halfway through the movie go, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight and supporting my dream of being an actor, and hopefully this will cross $1 billion mark. I really appreciate it. No, get with the car chase.
Right. Hey, I mean, can you imagine? But that's what they do. Right there, you're like, I'm a rookie. Hey, just in case you weren't sure, here it is. I'm a total rookie and have no idea what I'm doing.
Right.
But yeah, you go rock it in 3 songs or 2 songs right off the bat, and you're like, my name's Thomas Martinez. Thanks everybody for showing up. We're gonna rock we're gonna blow your mind the next 20 minutes, and hopefully you'll stick around. We can talk afterwards. Hit it, boom, pow, and you're just like, yes, and you just lifted my spirits up after a long day at work versus boring me to tears. Same thing.
Already being the professional that you want to be.
What I love that you said is like he put on a show, not a showcase.
Yeah. That was the first time it really clicked. I was like, oh, that's what's the difference between that and all these other things I go to. And part of that is time, because a lot of the other people was like hired bands, hired guns, versus he had his guys.
Yeah.
I've seen the same thing with Anthony Oreo. He'd do like a showcase at 3rd and Lindsley or something where it's a short show, and they'd kill it.
Yeah.
For like 30 minutes.
Yep.
It was his band. It was the Goodfellas.
Yep.
And they knew what the crap they were doing, and they put on a high-energy 30-minute show that lets you know what you're in for if you go to a full concert, right? It is just a taste, a sampling of the menu, and it was great. So Thomas and Anthony are like 2 guys I saw that like killed it on that stuff. And so many other people, it's like start, stop.
Yeah. And that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do online, too, especially online, because you know what? They don't have to get up and physically walk out the door to veto like they do at a live show or
like,
a live
showcase. I don't want to walk in front of the band. There's a little bit of doing the walk of shame almost, a little bit, like walking out on somebody in the middle.
Yeah.
There's none of that online.
Nope. They can just scoot right past you. They can troll with a nasty comment and leave.
Exactly. Disappear. Slip out the back, Jack.
They're bored, yeah. So that's another part of just sort of, the technical and the aesthetic of how to make this happen and how to make this work. So we talked about lighting. We kind of talked about the background and what to set up. The last thing I would say, too, just as far as technical and aesthetic is if you can be in a room that isn't too reflective, that helps.
Mm-hmm. So what do you mean by reflective? Go ahead and explain.
Like sonically reflective. Like here's the example. If I get right up on my mic right here and I talk really quietly, it's very, very clean. But if I'm back here and I talk, you can hear the reflection that's in my room now, and I have a lot of baffles set up to try to control this, right? Mm-hmm. So the idea is, what does the room sound like? So the quieter the room, the better it's going to be. If there's lots of cushy things, a carpet, curtains.
My
if
belly.
There's a room like that. Yeah.
My COVID-19 belly.
Your COVID-19 belly.
A lot of sound happening and sounds coming from it. So it's probably a wash, actually.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So the next thing is we talked about consistency with the way it kind of looks in the background, but also consistency with the shows. Back to Williams Honor, every Wednesday, same bat time, same bat station, they're putting on a live show. Logo in the background, Reagan's vamping around, doing her thing, Gordon's doing his thing, and it sounds killer. They're running some tracks, I think. I know they are. They're running some tracks, and Gordon's playing live, and Reagan's singing live to it. And they're running tracks, and it's just the two of them having a ball doing that. And they're getting a regular audience and making that happen. So consistency, people begin to expect that you're going to be there on Wednesday night at 6 p.m.
Yeah, and I have a story about that, too. I recently, in the Songwriting Pro community, did a hang interview with Rob Mills of the Southern gospel group The Sound.
Uh-huh.
And so he's the dad. It's him and his two sons. And I asked him, hey, what's one of the things that got you on the label's radar? Daywind Records. So The Sound just had their first #1 single, and I'm happy to be a writer on that song. And so we were talking about, it's like, hey, it's pretty fast. Like from the time they kind of became The Sound to the time they got a #1 single. Like, what's one of the things that got you on their radar? And he's been around the business as a writer a while and been in different bands and stuff. But he said they started doing every Tuesday night, doing a Facebook Live.
Really?
Him and the two boys. And that just helped grow their presence every Tuesday night and just gave people a chance to see it. And you have all this, they live on. And so you have this rabbit hole you can go down. And one thing he said that the label liked about it that kind of set them apart a little bit is that Jacob and Levi are their sons. So Rob and Jacob both play guitar. Jacob's more of a lead guy, one of his sons, and then Levi's just killing it singing. And so they have the family harmony, and it's just they can do the deal. Like, so wherever they are, 2 guitars, bam, ready to go. So if they're on the road or whatever, they just do it wherever they are Tuesday nights. So they're consistent on the time. And somebody at Daywind had put out the word like, hey, who are the best undrafted free agents? Who are some of the best people that we don't know about, that we should know about? And several people sent The Sound's info, like mention them, like people Rob doesn't even know, and people that are even outside like Southern gospel, like just CCM people, and doing that every Tuesday night. We're just being findable. That whole interview, if y'all want to see it, is in the Songwriting Pro member area under the Hang section, if y'all want to see that whole thing. But
there you go. So these guys got a deal in large part because of this online presence that they decided to grab.
It was definitely a door opener so people could talk about them and be aware of them that maybe hadn't been to a show, but like, these guys are good. And they are. They're really good. And they showcase it consistently.
There you go.
So it helped them get on the radar of the label.
I love that. So there we have the kind of basics of the way that works. One other piece I would add into that is if you're doing more of a original show, pepper in some covers, pepper in a couple covers, because this is just something that's really, really important when you're a new artist and you're getting in front of new eyeballs, because you're going to give them something that is familiar to them in a live situation. By the way, we encourage our artists to do this on tour as well. Before COVID and post-COVID, it will be the same thing. You throw, or like a little medley of some sort, like a little 5-minute medley or 10-minute medley that shows that's something that you can do. When Jacob Cade did that, he did like Stranglehold and Rocky Mountain Way or something. He was killing them already, and then in the middle of the set, he throws those covers in. It was a little mashup, but it wasn't like a mashup. It was just kind of like he went from one song into the other song, and people freaked out, man. They're like, yes, I knew this guy was good, and they just got confirmation because he killed it with, 2 songs that they know and that they love, kind of a thing. So that becomes really, really important. And if you're just mostly doing covers, then you've already got that nailed down, and you're going to get people that are excited about that.
And I love, too, when people take an original and then they'll do kind of like, swing into like a well-known cover and then swing back into the original. That's something that Anthony Oreo and the guys would do really well. Is that they'd start with like Good Problems or some song out of Anthony's catalog that maybe not everybody knew, and then they'd swing into some rock song or other country thing or whatever, and then swing back into it and come back to home base, and it helps put everything over the top.
Yeah. Once again, guys, back to cover songs. I can't pound on this enough because we just keep getting the same sort of responses where everybody's like, well, I don't want to be known as a cover artist and blah, blah. They think it's some sort of like a degradation. But the first Beatles record, all covers. First two Stones records, all covers, except for 3 songs on the second one. The first Led Zeppelin record, all covers. You know, Carrie Underwood and Kelly Clarkson, Chris Young, Blake Shelton,
Miranda Lambert.
and Miranda Lambert, because they came into your awareness singing cover songs on TV. And that was long before they were playing their original stuff and making that happen. So it's just a great way to make that connection, flex a little muscle where you're entertaining them with something they know and put your spin on it.
I think when people say, I don't want to be known as a cover artist, you can just stop them after they say, I don't want to be known.
Yeah.
You just stop there. I don't want to be known. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Stop.
You just keep going on with your bad self. I'm sure they're going to figure it out at some point, right?
Yeah.
The other part about this, and I'm going to get to the final promotion piece, but the other part about this is all this live stuff that you do, like we've been doing this with the Mickeys, and they've been kind of really just shifted their whole summer show season to online is what they've done. And they're building their audience there, but they're constantly repurposing a song from a live show that they did, and we shoot that out as like an ad, as a piece of content that we're going to promote and push out there. So you can multi-purpose this content in a lot of different ways to let people know. Like if there's one particular song that you just slate it and it just turned out really, really well, you've got that. You can download that video from Facebook or from Instagram, and then you can cut it up and use it again in music videos, like little, quick shots to proper music videos. I mean, we did that with this video for Alora. I've got footage of her on tour. I've got footage of her in the studio with Michael Wagner, and then we shot some new footage and layered it over the top as a kind of common thread that goes all the way through. But it all makes it sort of interesting. It's this social proof thing with this really good piece that it all kind of works. But we had all this other footage. And this stuff can be reused and multi-purposed as well. So another good thing to go on there. Then finally, I think, is how to promote it. The way that you promote it is this. In a professional situation, when you are on the train of digital and you are regularly promoting stuff, I would say don't boost, because you're spending regular money now to get in front of new eyeballs, and what you're not getting is any of the data back. And this is a generalization, but you're generally going to spend more money per ad and get lower reach because the targeting isn't as surgical as what you can get on the back end. But having said that, if you haven't ever done this before and you're just trying to play around with digital marketing to promote a show, then you know what? Boost is a really good way to go just to get your feet wet. Hopefully you have a win. You do it the right way. And the story we told a couple episodes ago about Reagan and Gordon from Williams Honor, where they had another band that was beating them out. She's very competitive, and she's like, we have twice the audience that they have, but they're getting twice the amount of views on their live shows on Facebook than we are. Why is that? I'm like, they're advertising, and she thought it was kind of cheating and beneath her. But when I reframed it for her, she got it, and she tried a boost. She spent $60 on the boost, and I consulted with her and helped her just sort of make sure she did it right. The next week, they went from 4,500 views to 14,500 views.
Nice.
It was way more, and so now she's had a good experience with it, right? So she tried it. She had some sort of like internal, maybe moral or ethical type of grappling with it that way, which was unfounded. Like, I understood why, but she's not seeing the real picture and what happens. And when I was sort of able to explain this to her, she came around. Yeah. But then she had a good experience, and she was like, oh, okay, I get it. So, if you got to boost it first, God bless, boost it first. And then if that gets you going enough to where you're like, okay, I understand that we have to do this on the regular now, then by all means, you better be moving into the back end on the ads manager platform than the boost platform, so that you're getting all that return on your investment with data, right? That's really all I have to say about that, guys. Once again, good opportunity to get your video content out there and not feel judged or feel self-conscious about the look of it, because when you've got Jimmy Fallon and American Idol and all these big stars that are normally in real super pro Hollywood studios or New York studios doing their thing, and now they're doing it from home under their house light with a iPhone, you can compete now. All of a sudden you can compete and get this going and make it look really good. So have some fun with that, be consistent, and your audience will grow as long as you're mixing up the soup the right way. If you want a little one-on-one consulting with this, reach out to info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular, there is no S, and we will be happy to find out what you got going on and give you a custom strategy to make that happen. Put consulting in the subject line and we'll put a time on the books. And if you haven't done so already, please, there's a free informational PDF, just speaks to marketing and getting your mindset straight about what you need to think about in digital compared to the way that you were marketed to on broadcast. It's a big difference. It's called 21 Biggest Reasons You Don't Have More Fans and How to Fix It. It's absolutely free. Just go to giftfromjohnny.com, JOHNNY, giftfromjohnny.com, and tell us where to send it. You can get that download and it'll get you on board with just starting to think about things the right way. That said, guys, hey, this podcast exists because we want you to win. So keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.